Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Certain Point of View and our Last of Us reaction reviews here on Tuesday afternoon/evenings, depending on where you are in the world. Hope everyone is doing great out there. We are here for episode 4. Please hold to my hand. A little bit of a tongue twister title there. Episode 4 of The Last of Us. Hope everyone is doing great out there. As you can see, it is Molly, myself, Brian, and Alex here to discuss the latest episode of this apocalyptic show. I'm going to make sure I go around to every single person today, just like I promised. Molly, I'll start with you this time. How are you doing this Tuesday?
Doing good. We've been doing a lot of live streams, so just trying to get a better groove going. But I got great sleep last night, so that's a start.
There you go. Yeah. Your guys' time is going to get very busy in the next month, so it makes sense to take some time off. It makes sense. Brian, how about you?
Good. I've learned I'm not allowed to buy Tim Tams anymore. We're done with Tim Tams.
We're done with them. We're canceling Tim Tams.
That sounds like you're bad.
It sounds like I had bought 2 packets and ate them in 2 days. So we're not doing that anymore. Other than that, just another Tuesday, you know.
Love to hear it, Brian. Love to hear. I love to hear the excitement in your
I'm
voice
excited
every
because
time.
Oh, thank you. I'm hoping Alex is petitioning to join my book club or my book cult because it says "read" across his shirt. So
It's also got Grogu on it.
Oh,
perfect.
That's cool. As Andy says, you're going to put him out of business, Brian. You're going to put him out of business.
No, I'm gonna get fat again. That's the
smuggling that he does into the U.S. And Alex, how about you on this Tuesday?
The problem. Hold on. The problem. Here's the thing. Here's the problem I'm having. They have 4 flavors. I tried 2. I can't.
Well, now you have to go back for the other 2. You have to go back
for
the other 2. Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't remember. Did Andy ever bring us caramel ones?
I don't remember.
Pretty sure I've had a caramel one.
Oh yeah.
Caramel. Was it? Oh, okay. Well, I'm done.
So good. I've eaten like half a pack in one sitting and been like.
Honestly, I'll eat a lot of them, but after 2, I'm like, this is gross, and I just keep.
You just keep
2 cookies.
Yeah, and I keep going, but by after 2, I'm like, no.
We had those we had those double stuffed ones too. You might have been remembering those because those were extra rich.
Pretty sure we got a caramel one at one point.
Yeah, and Andy brought an entire suitcase to Schmoedown Spectacular, so I'm sure there was caramel in there at some point. Alex, how are you doing today?
I just want to make sure Brian was going to let me go. I'm doing good.
I'm gonna go get another Tim Tam. So go for it.
Just got off my Fallen Order stream. That was super fun. I'm blowing through the game. I should have put it on a harder difficulty. Sorry.
Oh, excuse me.
Once you go to Grandmaster, like everything else is super easy.
Are you one step down from Grandmaster?
No, I'm on normal mode, like normal difficulty. That's
so you're on
1 or 2 steps down. Yeah, peasant level for sure.
Oh my god.
That's where I live.
Same.
All right, well, let's get into it because we have quite the episode to discuss today in The Last of Us. Episode 4, Please Hold to My Hand. We get back to Joel and Ellie and their travels, if you will, and they end up in Kansas City this episode, inside the walls of Kansas City, and chaos ensues. Craziness happens. We meet a whole bunch of new characters and a whole new threat, which is very, very exciting. So let's get some immediate reaction to this episode before we kind of dive into the nitty gritty here. Molly, I'll go right back to you on this one. Instant reaction to episode 4.
I loved the joke book.
A lot of puns. Yeah.
The pun book. A lot of fans were nervous to see whether or not that was going to show up because it's in the game. And so I'm glad that they put that in there. I'm also glad they put the magazine in, and like that was one of the first scenes where she finds Bill's magazine in the back.
Why
of
are
the
these
truck.
pages sticking?
That was perfect.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah. But yeah, this was a great kind of a bridge episode to bring us into what's to come, but I like that we're getting a little bit of a closer look on just Joel and Ellie's relationship.
Agreed. They definitely took multiple steps towards like a better relationship in this episode. Brian?
If I ever need to go on vacation, I'm going with Joel because he drives fast. They got from Boston to Kansas City pretty darn quickly, it seems
There's
like.
no traffic.
Oh, that's fair. That is a good point.
Brian, there's literally nobody. There's literally nobody.
And they
Except
can
in
drive whatever
Kansas City.
speed they want. Yeah. I did not think of these things. And now it makes sense. Yeah. My mind's kind of blown now that there's no traffic. I just literally I'm trying to like think of thoughts now, and I'm like, oh,
We'll come back
you're
to
really
you.
dumb
Come
for
back.
not thinking of that. Yeah, go ahead.
And Alex, how about you?
Yeah, still liked it a lot. There are definitely some things when I compared it to the game that I'm like, I think I like the way the game did this a little bit more, but for the
Okay.
purposes of the story and the show, like the show, and we'll get into this, gave us a lot more characters outside of Joel and Ellie than the game did. So, the game gets to spend a little more time with just them. And if you're going to spread your attention out, then some things have to be sacrificed. And I wouldn't even say sacrificed, like they just need to be changed, condensed, stuff like that. So I think there's some things that breathe a little better in the game for their relationship, but it's all good. I still really liked it. And like Molly said, just getting to see them team up and work together, because we haven't really had that moment yet. It's mostly been about him and Tess, and then it was about Bill and Frank, but now we need them to actually work together.
Yeah, it's a great follow-up to the ending of last episode, how like we kind of saw the turn in Joel a little bit. And geez, Brian, you're on another level today. Goodness.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It was
ADHD today, so
this was definitely the episode that, as a non-game player, I was kind of waiting to see like their relationship get to a point where they're just going back and forth the entire time, but also obviously in the midst of some danger, some things that are happening, coming into contact with some other people. I'm definitely curious to get in some stuff that did change, because I saw one of the bigger things that was different is they didn't go to Kansas City in the game; they went to Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
They didn't get very far then in the video game.
Nope.
There must have been traffic.
But no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really cool episode. There's some very interesting moments in the episode between both characters with other people that we meet, which I'm excited to get into. But yeah, I mean, some things I guess we could talk about. I wrote some notes down here, just some stuff that in order, I guess, per se, when it comes to the episode. One of the first things that I wrote down here in my notes is that the small moments that we got in this episode, specifically of how Ellie knew nothing about the world Joel lived in, and like how she couldn't pronounce the word Cheyenne, and she didn't know the CH was Cheyenne, or coffee, not being able to read a map, like just things like that. They were all just seated.
Yeah, for staying in a car.
Exactly. They were seated throughout the entire episode, and I thought it was just such well done on a story standpoint, because in the midst of everything, we do forget that she's 13 in a world that's been doing this for 20 years. She doesn't know any of that. And I love that coffee moment where, she's talking about Starbucks and she's like, smells like crap. And he just starts sipping it because he absolutely loves it. I just love how they're doing that. They're kind of just sprinkling in those moments of remembering, she didn't live in a world that we know. It's very, very different from her as she's kind of traveling around all these cities. So
she hasn't hit that age yet where you're like, okay, I need coffee. I need it. I don't care what it tastes like.
Yeah.
I would prefer it to taste good, but
yeah.
There's a coffee shop you can find in the game, and Joel just says like, I miss coffee. And it seems like he hasn't had it in maybe 20 years. So I liked that he got to have some coffee in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely need it when you're dealing with 13-year-olds. So
I also really like that in the game, you don't have, I don't think you have any scenes like that where they're falling asleep. it just kind of takes you from vignette to vignette, and then you play through it. There's never a time where they're just lying down to go to sleep that I can recall. But I like that we got to take that time where she tells him a joke at the beginning, and I think that he delivers the punchline first, so that shows that little.
Yeah,
bit
he
of
scoffed
bonding.
at the jokes at the gas station, and then
Right.
when they were sleeping, she made the scarecrow joke. Yeah,
And
Mhm.
he beats her to the punchline.
yeah.
But then after that, she's like, "Can I ask you a serious question?" Does the joke, but then she's
Mhm.
like, "No one's gonna find us, right?" And Joel, who said he was gonna sleep all night, the next little cut is him like pacing around and keeping
Yeah.
watch, and I thought that was really sweet.
Brian,
Cute.
Molly.
I mean, yeah, no, I love the ever growing relationship, and like you could see he's actually like starting to care about her, and like more than just like a job that he feels like he
Well, he
has
calls
to
her
do.
cargo in the episode, so
Well, yeah, but still, I say things about people that it's like me. It sounds mean, but it's like you're
Mhm.
really like nice, and that
Yeah.
kind of is the vibe that he gives off. So I mean, the man literally didn't sleep the whole entire night. I mean, if
Yeah.
he didn't care about you, it's just like okay, whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, no.
I like that Ellie is kind of bringing him back to life. He's probably remembering a lot about his own daughter and remembering what it was like to just talk to a girl that age and how like much of a smartass they can be. So at first he seems annoyed with it, probably because it's bringing up a lot of memories. But then, yeah, eventually he kind of starts to warm up to her. And when he gets the giggles over the poop joke, I was like, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I
Well, even the
laughed.
coffee moment where she's like, "It smells like shit," and he just sips it, like
Yeah.
that's a very
Mhm.
dad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard, unnecessarily hard at the mermaid joke.
Algae broth.
That-
All of those
yeah.
jokes, I think, are from the game.
They are. I saw a thanks to TikTok. I saw a comparison. Every single pun that was made came straight from the game. But I saw that in the game, Joel doesn't laugh at any of the puns. That he doesn't
Well,
finish the sentence, I think.
I mean, I guess it's because it's up to the player to laugh or not.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Because
Alright.
that's the whole thing. Like the joke book adds nothing to the gameplay. It's just about your relationship with Ellie. And that's why after finishing my last playthrough, I was like, I missed the joke book. Like I was disappointed that I missed this
Got
thing
it.
that does not change the game at all, except that it's funny.
Got it. All right. Cool.
We should go back and play it then, maybe
Again.
again.
Molly, you mentioned Ellie kind of bringing Joel back to life a little bit. That was one of my next notes. Is in the car when Joel was talking about the story of him and Tommy and their kind of backstory and everything with the Fireflies and kind of how they got connected, how they met up with them, and that's how they met Tess. I don't know if that happens in the game or not, but I thought that was really just kind of good foreshadowing on what's obviously going to come whenever we get to that point. And some backstory that maybe was needed at this point, especially because Ellie, at this point, we're Ellie in this situation and learning who Joel is at this age, 20 years later, what he's kind of been through. It might not matter now, but in 2 or 3 episodes, it could very much matter on the history that all these characters have. So I did love that moment between the two of them. And going back to what you said, it's kind of it's lighting Joel up a little bit, which is nice to see.
Yeah, that's different from the game. I don't remember if he explains any of that and like relationship stuff to her in the game.
No, we basically get in the car, we leave Bill's. She finds the magazine, and then you cut to Pittsburgh. And
okay.
then you go into all of that.
Got it. Okay. I thought some crazy stuff was about to happen when they got to the overpass. I was like getting my bulletproof vests on. I was like, ooh, what is about to go down? I thought someone was behind that big giant bus, but it was just a little, side street to what was actually going on. So, all right. Next thing that we have here is we get into Kansas City. We have that little scene of, I don't know if they have a name. I'll just say bad guys for now. Essentially, Crash, Joel, and Ellie. And
Kansas
we get that whole
Cityans.
Kansas City. Sure. Oh, the rebels. I guess they're rebels technically. They're the resistance. I'll call them rebels. I'll call them the rebels. We learned they took down the QZ in Kansas City, and we get this action scene. Not really an action scene, but some gunfire. We see Joel and Ellie get pinned into a shop. They lose the car. They lose their supplies, and then we have that incredibly dark moment of, Ellie saving Joel, but at the expense of paralyzing someone, and then Joel having to kill that man for what is going on. Very interesting Ellie in this situation, because in episode 1 we saw her kind of excited to see Joel beating the crap out of someone. You could tell that she was legitimately terrified in this moment at what was happening, and Joel kind of stepping in and saving her and putting her through some stuff. But obviously we get that moment of her shooting someone and stepping up and saving Joel. Alex, I'll go to you first. I'm curious on your thoughts on this, because I don't know how this differentiates from the game or not, but I thought it was a really interesting scene on how it all kind of went down.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different. There is a moment where in the game, Joel is being like drowned by someone in a shallow.
Oh, okay.
It's like a deep puddle, I guess, where you
After
can kind of
him,
see the gun.
like getting beat up a lot.
Got it.
And
Okay.
you and Ellie have been separated for quite a bit. But then you
okay.
see someone pick up the gun, and it's Ellie, and she shoots the guy off of Joel. And then they don't really get to have that long talk, which I did like the long talk.
Yeah.
She does deliver the line like, "You're glad I did that, though, right?" And he's more mad that it had to happen at all, like
Yeah.
he says in the show. But later on, they're going to have to part ways again, and he says, "Just so you know, it was either him or me," and he leaves. And that's him saying thank you and like they're becoming more of a team. And
Yeah.
he also does trust her with a gun after that moment in the game. So a lot of the same stuff happens, but I feel like it just breathes a little better in the game. And I was hoping to get that line of like a thank you without saying thank you, but
Mm.
it was
I
still
like-
done well.
Yeah.
I like that we got Ellie kind of like playing around with the gun in the mirror
Yeah. There was the
earlier
opening shot of the episode. Yeah.
in the episode, because that's perfect foreshadowing for her actually having to use it, where she's just kind of like playing around and practicing.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of great, like, very gamey moments in this episode. Just them crouching and like moving around the car and moving around, ducking and like under windows and stuff. That's all very game-like.
Finally, Joel
nice.
had to crouch walk.
Yeah. And all I thought was his knees.
Yeah.
They must hurt.
Well, we see that later on when he has to climb 33 flights of stairs.
Yeah,
It's
no.
brutal.
So this part
Is this where you would have
brought
died,
me-
Brian?
The first of my 2 deaths. You would think that the first death would have been lighting a fire in the middle of the woods, but you would be wrong, because I learned that from the Hunger Games that you don't do that.
Mm.
So when he said, "No, we can't light it," I was like,
And from
I
Lord of the
know why.
Rings.
Yeah.
"Yeah, no, not that one
No,
for me."
not that.
No. Yeah, I would have helped the person and immediately gotten killed. Like, I'm just dumb like that. Wouldn't have even crossed my mind. Second, what?
Would you have helped that guy, Brian?
Probably.
Well, you
No,
would have
me.
been living in this world for quite a while, so I don't know. Maybe you had wised up by then.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
if someone
Maybe.
just plopped you down in this universe, maybe.
Yeah.
I had a guess. I was going to guess that you would say siphoning gas, that you wouldn't want to do that.
See, okay.
And so you would just
I-
lay down and die.
See, now I thought of it more as, with my luck, I would do it the wrong way and just like swallow the gas and die.
Drink it all.
Yeah, that would probably be more likely than just not wanting to do it. So that's fair. So maybe the 3. The second being, I would have tried to jump through the wall hole and probably gotten stuck and just had my literal butt blown off.
Like a Winnie the Pooh
Like,
moment.
Yeah. Like, I definitely would have been like, because he was like, "You go through it. I can't fit." I would have definitely been like, "I can fit.
I could do it.
Yeah, I can do it." And then immediately tried to jump through and just had my legs probably sticking out, and I'd have been donezo there. So yeah,
Interesting.
those first 2.
Thoughts on the
Yeah,
scene,
I-
though, Brian?
I it's funny because it never crossed my mind because I don't think they really did this in The Walking Dead that I can think of like these QZs are like safe zones essentially, even though they're not like the best thing in the world. They seem for the most part safe from this virus. So it never really crossed my mind the thought that like the people would actually like take them out, in turn kind of not making it safe anymore. Like they literally turned like a crappy place, albeit safe, into a not really safe zone.
Well,
Uh,
it's not
I mean-
safe for Joel and Ellie, but it's safe for them. Like they're a
Well-
group of people that rose up against the oppressive. Bill would call them Nazis, the fascist Fedra.
Fedra.
Yeah.
They were just people living in that city, right?
hmm
And they probably had a bunch of Fedra come in and try to take over, like
Well, Fedra
Boston.
would have been in charge, and so they just got fed up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
And-
have all their vehicles and weapons, I would imagine.
Mhm.
That's where they got them all, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, when I heard it, I was kind of like, oh, that's clever. Like you kind of like, I mean, it didn't seem like Kansas had like walls, kind of like Boston did, unless I missed it.
I think the cars on the highway probably would have been kind of the walls.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing as impressive as Boston, but
Yeah, so you don't gotta tell me. But yeah, it's kind of interesting seeing like they think that they're much better off than they were before, but it's like, are you? You all seem a little nuts now. You just killed a doctor. So it's like but yeah, no, I loved it. Loved the shootout scene. Dude, I had to look away when he was like begging for his life on the ground, and
Oh, when he kept saying
then
mom. Yeah.
that I literally like
That was
just
brutal.
like, oh, I can't. I was like not. I didn't like want to hear it. It was like, ugh, it sent a chill down my spine. So,
Well,
yeah,
they start
it
you
was-
off. They start you off by Ellie paralyzing him. You know, he shouts out, "I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs."
yeah,
And then obviously Joel just has to finish it off. We don't see it, but his final words, he yelled "mom" 3 times. That's just like
Yeah.
terrifying to think about.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
Even though he
just-
was part of a rebel faction, and a bad one at that, it's still pretty
Yeah.
terrifying that that's the world that obviously is there. So,
yeah, no, it was, yeah, rough.
well, speaking on the rebel faction, let's get to it. Melanie Linsky, who I love, I think she is just fantastic.
Yellow Jackets.
Yes, Yellow Jackets. I love her.
I need to watch that damn show.
Watch it, Brian. Watch it.
She comes in as a character named Kathleen, and she is the leader of this rebel faction, or is what it feels like she is the leader. And right underneath her, I just want to make this a point in case we don't talk about him, is a character played by Jeffrey Pierce named Perry. Now, if I'm not mistaken, he voiced Tommy in the video games, correct?
Yes.
Which is a very cool thing. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I might have read somewhere that these characters aren't actually in the games. These are brand new characters.
Correct.
Very interesting. So this is a whole new mysterious spot for everyone to find out who these characters are. I thought it was interesting and just exciting to see kind of like the setup of what them versus Joel and Ellie could be. And obviously what is going on in the city. We see that dark room where there is something underneath the city that is coming their way. The concrete breaking down. She seems lethal. She seems ruthless. She killed the doctor that delivered her because he wouldn't give her information. It seems like next episode, everything's going to come to a very big explosive point. But I love Melanie Linsky. I think she's great and everything they're kind of setting up there. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, I've been seeing a few people compare her to someone from the second game, but I really dig her character so far in the show.
Since you bring up the second game, not going to spoil anything about it, but the fact that they are taking the time to humanize the antagonists. Like, you guys keep calling them the bad rebel faction, and I'm like, are they? I mean,
I didn't say
not
they
to
were
them.
bad.
Yes, you did. You called them the bad
No.
guys. You did.
Bad guys
Uh,
TM.
Yeah, which like that's the easy thing to say because there are antagonists to Joel and Ellie, so I get it. And in the game, it's just all of a sudden they pull that thing, and Ellie's like, "Are we going to help him?" No, and you're under fire, and you're just fighting these people, and that's all you know. But yeah, they're like this community trying to protect themselves. They don't know who Joel and Ellie are, and they think that they're getting attacked by someone. So I really like that they were letting us get to know these people, because that is something the second game dives into more, is like the idea that in this world, everyone is someone. And like in the game, you kill so many people and they're just like video game characters, NPCs. You're like, yeah, whatever. But the idea that that all has consequences is something that I think is a good thing to start setting up now.
Yeah, I guess I'm viewing it as, I'm just looking at Joel and Ellie as like, quote unquote, our heroes, our protagonists, right? So everyone that opposes them, I look at them as an antagonist. But to your point, Alex, RD commented this just a few minutes ago. In The Last of Us, there are not really any good guys or bad guys. Everyone is kind of bad and kind of good, which totally makes sense.
We get that moment later where Ellie asks Joel, like, how did you know he was not hurt? And Joel's like, I've done that before. Did you kill innocent people? And he just doesn't want to answer. So that's a yes. Like,
no, totally right.
So Joel is somebody's bad guy also.
That it's very true. It's a very, very good way of looking at it. I definitely have to look at that going forward. Obviously, like, there's going to be moments, and I'm guessing next episode, where everyone comes they're obviously coming at a stalemate because Joel has to get somewhere with Ellie and they're trying to stop them. But yeah, everyone is good and everyone is bad. It's just the world that they live in, unfortunately. Any thoughts, Brian?
Juicy. I don't know. Like I said, this feels like a bridge episode. I'm not calling it filler. We don't use the F word. But I just am excited where it kind of left off. I saw a lot of people saying, I don't like the cliffhanger, or I love the cliffhanger. We're going to have cliffhangers like that in shows like this. So I think it just builds excitement for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the end of a book chapter. It feels like a cutoff for a video game where the story kind of transitions into something else. I mean, there's so many movies and TV shows that have done something just like it before. It left me interested. I was like, oh my God, like, why did they have to stop it right there? I have to wait, although it's only 5 days this time instead of 7. I have to wait 5 days to watch the next episode to see what happens. So anybody who's saying like they don't like the ending is that's blasphemous.
Well, it's just like, you got to stop it somewhere. It is an interesting thing, adapting a video game where you're like, the Pittsburgh stuff is long, and it's like, where do we cut this?
Mm-hmm.
So does it? I mean, obviously it's a little different, but I imagine that this is the Pittsburgh story that they're trying to adapt inside the video, or the show, I should say.
Yeah.
And I listened to the podcast, the official podcast, and they talked about how the only reason there were 2 reasons they changed it. First and foremost, they were shooting in Canada and it just didn't look like Pittsburgh. They were like, it looks more like Kansas City.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Second, like Brian pointed out, that they didn't get that far. Like, I mean, Boston to Pittsburgh is a decent ways, but where they're headed out to Wyoming, it's not that close. Yeah. So they just wanted to get them a little further along in the story geographically.
Yeah, no, I mean, that totally makes sense. Okay, we talked about it a little bit, or I mentioned it briefly. I want to kind of get some theories here, but that giant thing in the room that we see basically breathing, what it looks like, it's got to be some monstrous virus clicker monster thing, right?
One or many?
Maybe an army of them comes rumbling out through the rubble. I don't know, but it seems like something. Obviously, if you saw this TV spot for next week's episode, we saw something. But yeah,
it's probably a safe bet.
It looks it looks like something's about to explode and be terrifying.
It is. It will probably do both of those things.
Because I imagine it's like a step or two above just a regular clicker. Like it's got to be.
Ooh. If you go back and rewatch the first few episodes, there's some hints about what it might be.
You mean watch the whole series again so far?
Yep,
What do you
yeah.
mean?
Well, I mean, there's a specific scene that does hint towards what it might be.
I think I know what you're talking about. Only because I know what it is.
I have no idea, and because I have to wait just a short amount of time this week, I'm not going to look into it at all.
Good for you.
Unless
Yeah,
it comes up
good
on
for me.
TikTok.
Yeah, well, I
Like you
better
were going to.
freaking better not come back on my TikTok. All right, real quick, got a super chat before we continue this conversation. Gio Flores, thank you so much, Gio. The ending gave me a big Lost throwback. Oh, that's a good callback. That's a great callback. I'm a total Lost fan, so I definitely love that reference. Okay, is there anything else in this episode that we haven't talked about? I feel like we've talked about a lot of the major moments, but were there any smaller moments or things that maybe we haven't covered that we should bring up?
Ooh, I liked Joel teaching Ellie how to use a gun.
Oh,
And
that's a great moment.
More
Yeah.
just like the fact that she is learning the right way to do it. It's such a weird thing to be teaching a child, but it felt like a good father-child. Like, here's how you do this thing. And there's that moment where he kind of grabs the gun and shakes it. Like,
Mhm.
look, I can't take it from you. And she giggles.
Yeah,
is like
her
just a-
face just lights up.
It's a kid learning something and enjoying it, but then you're also like, oh, it's learning about violence and
Yeah.
guns. And
He's
it's like,
he's teaching her how to hold a gun so that someone can't just like pull it
Yeah.
out of her hands.
yeah.
No, I mean that's a great moment because I'm sure even if she was his biological daughter, in situations in this world, unfortunately, you have to learn at a young age, like just to survive. And it probably took him a little bit to understand that because of the loss of his daughter, and he spent 20 years basically alone. But it totally makes sense, and it was a very quiet, nice moment. And that in that moment, that great line of "You're just a kid," like you shouldn't have had to go through that of shooting that person. So yeah, very touching moment between the two of them. Again, going back to their growing relationship and the two of them kind of just bonding over ridiculous things, but they are bonding.
But it's bonding over fighting and surviving together, teaching each other how to use guns.
Yeah.
But then bonding over like childish things
Yeah.
as
Poop
well.
jokes.
And the poop joke. Yeah.
Poop
It
jokes, yeah.
The way she delivered that was so good. Like, I knew the punchline, but she still said it in such a way that I was like, that was very funny.
All right, another super chat here from Mr. Shu. How did you guys feel about the cliffhanger? I thought it was kind of cheap. Like, I'm already invested. I'm coming back next week. Ooh, disagree, but that's okay.
I mean,
the shows are gonna have cliffhangers like that left and right.
I guess I didn't even consider it a cliffhanger because like I'm so familiar with the story.
Yeah.
So it happens differently in the game, even that. But I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense that we would stop here. So it didn't bug me at all.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many shows these days. I mean, whether it's House of the Dragon or I'm sure we can even find one in like Andor, there's cliffhangers that are maybe not exactly like that, but similar to where they're setting something up for the next episode. And I imagine these characters
Never more than 12, I guess, would be the closest. It's not a cliffhanger so much, but
yeah, I mean, but it's similar. Like they're about to
Yeah.
rebel against the prison.
yeah.
You know, I imagine these two characters are pretty important. Again, I haven't played the game for anybody who's watching who hasn't heard me say that before. Why would you take the time to explain who they are 5 or 10 minutes instead of saving them for the whole next episode? Like, kind of just makes sense that way story wise. And again, you're kind of breaking it up into like chapters of a story. You don't want to just like introduce them and then cut the story and wait. You want to save them for one big story altogether. So it makes sense when you're telling it from a story standpoint.
Yeah, the episode was already kind of shorter. It was only 45
Mhm.
minutes. And so because we don't get to see a lot of the Joel and Ellie stuff that happened in this episode in the game, I liked that they kind of connected the two stories in one episode to
Yeah.
bridge the gap.
Well, I also love that
mean, I
next
think-
episode is essentially going to start with them being hostages, which I love. Like, we're getting going. Like there's no
Yeah.
time. Like it's right away. Sorry, Brian, I cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, would you rather have a shorter story introduction or have a whole episode that's going to be probably dedicated to it?
Yeah.
I'm kind of just having a realization of why people think that's a cliffhanger, and it's just one of those things where when you know too much, you're like, oh yeah, people are seeing this differently than I am. So
Well,
that makes a lot of sense, actually.
like RD says here in the chat, I feel the cliffhanger works excellent after you're going to see the next episode. So people might go back on their feelings after watching next week. But either way, I mean, I don't necessarily think that it's really like a major cliffhanger. We're just seeing that, oh, the episode ended with them essentially being held hostage. Per
Alex,
se.
it reminds me of that Bad Batch episode with Hera in it, where it was it should have been a two-parter, but it like after the one episode, after the second one after that, bridged the two stories together and connected them. You were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that works.
Yeah.
All right. Any other things that we missed in this episode? Chat, feel welcome to mention anything that maybe we didn't talk about. But is there anything off the top of your guys' head that we should bring up and discuss before we kind of head out?
My last way I was going to not survive, I would not have climbed 33 flights of stairs.
That's I was telling Molly that I keep getting surprised by what Brian says is going to kill him. You think it'd be, oh, that shootout. Like, there's no way I could survive that. But it's always just something where you're like, I don't want to get in the icky water. I'm just going to sit down and die.
Well, it's because my laziness. Like, it's like their thought process is the higher we go, the less likely people are going to show up. Obviously, that didn't work. I would.
Brian, do you think you would be lazy in the apocalypse, though?
Yes.
Really? I don't think you would be.
He doesn't want to live in a world without Tim Tams.
None of us do, Alex. None of us do.
No. I would be lazy for sure. That's a habit. My spirit animal is a sloth. That just doesn't change. Like, it's no.
I said you
Fair
would
enough.
have jumped out of the car and go get that magazine.
I wouldn't have thrown the magazine out of the car.
Without asking for it to stop. Like, he just rolls out.
The magazine
Wait.
wouldn't have. Yeah, no, the magazine would have been thrown out the car. That's the first thing.
This is mine now.
Mm-hmm.
I see two
go ahead,
good
Alex.
things that we could talk about. First, I like what Kyle Shaw said about viewership still jumping up. Like, week after week, more people are watching it. That's great. But I like what Blake Quick brings up for the non-game players.
Yeah.
What do you think that's about?
Oh yeah, her thing when Joel asked her about her little story of that wasn't her first time. I don't know. I mean, does it have to do with something about her when she was bit? I imagine it's got to be something around when she was bit.
She probably killed someone that she was with because they got bit.
That or like maybe she was being chased by Fedra or something and killed a Fedra agent.
Is
I
this
don't
in
know,
the
but
game? This backstory?
It's in the DLC.
Yes, okay.
And
for the game, which is
someone Curtis brought it up. We were talking about the ending and how it transitions in the next episode, but he did say unless they start next episode with a flashback.
Oh.
So maybe there's a chance we do see that. And I don't know if I don't know when that is in the game, but is there a chance that next episode could start with that moment of seeing Ellie not be bit, but maybe the moment where she does kill someone?
Maybe.
I think they're
I
going to
would
save it
love
for
that.
later.
Is it a bigger story rather than just like a quick 5-minute flashback?
I don't know how they're going to handle it.
Okay.
But there's always a chance, because I never would have guessed that we were going to do a whole flashback episode with Bill and Frank. So
That's true.
They could do anything and surprise us. And they even said in the latest podcast episode, they were like, we are trying really hard to keep you on your toes if you've played the game and keep surprising you.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, I would imagine she obviously kill someone. I just don't know who. Like, I have no idea who. If it was a random person, if it was a Fedra agent, if it was a clicker, or like Brian said, someone who got bit, who she just had to end their life. Like I think the possibility is everywhere. But again, I'm coming from someone who never played the game. So
my prediction, because I don't know, is it is a friend that she was in the mall with.
oh, the one she mentioned with the game. Riley? Is that her name? Did she say?
I don't even know. I don't even know what you're talking about. But
Last episode when she found Mortal Kombat, she mentioned a friend who knew the game and loved the game. Could it be that person?
I'm not here to answer questions. I just wanted to hear what you had to say.
I'm just speaking. I know you guys aren't going to answer. I'm just kind of speaking my thoughts into the universe.
And no, I swear to God, if someone says it in the chat, I'm gonna.
Someone watching is being like, "Man, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know." Oh my God.
We need a ticker on the bottom of the screen. Some of these people haven't played the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only person we've seen her mention. Ellie mention is her friend, but I mean, maybe her friend got bit. I don't know. Maybe we'll wait till next week or whenever they show it. All right, one last super chat before we wrap up here. Geo Flores, thank you again, Geo, so much. This is the only time my stair stepping is useful.
Yeah.
Correct.
Get the
I don't know, man.
steps
30,
in.
33
Stairmaster
flights.
training.
I'll climb to the top.
33 flights of stairs is a lot of steps. That is a long time of walking. So,
and it's not like they can just stop to have a recovery day like I would need.
Also, not that it actually helped. The breaking the glass and putting it in front was like, when I saw that, I was like, that is genius.
Well, it makes me wonder, were they already in the apartment?
Well, they did show that Joel fell asleep on his right side.
Yeah.
But then woke up on his left side with his bad ear up.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you're here, Alex. That's why you're here.
His bad ear.
That's right.
Which I don't recall him having hearing loss being part of the game, but just Ellie bringing that up, I think was supposed to set that moment up that Joel didn't hear the people, the intruders coming in.
What are those characters' names again? They were mentioned. Was it Henry? Henry and
I wasn't going to bring them up, but yeah, Henry and Sam, yeah.
Henry and Sam.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm guessing that those were the characters that Kathleen was looking for. That's because you saw the drawings of like Superman and stuff. So kid, and that's kind of what I just kind of put the pieces together. So they're obviously very important characters. I'm interested to learn more about them and kind of what their role is. It's very exciting. All right. Any final things that we want to touch on before we head out of here, guys? Anything?
I did want to bring this up. It's funny that it is funny that they made one of his ears back, because in the game game mechanics are one thing. You can't necessarily bring those into a live action TV show, but in the game you can like press a button and like everything goes gray around him, and like if there are enemies nearby, they're kind of highlighted. So it's almost like
you can
he's
see
using,
through walls.
So he has Morbius echolocation.
Yeah, like sonar or something.
Morbid time.
And that's just a game thing, but it is interesting that they made one of his ears bad.
They went the completely different route. The total opposite.
Very funny.
All right, cool. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap up today's The Last of Us discussion, everybody. Real quick, before we get some quick show plugs in there, we know that this week's episode comes out on Friday because of the Super Bowl. We are sticking to our schedule. We're going to be reviewing it next Tuesday. We're just going to take the weekend, not going to change anything up on our end. So we will be live next Tuesday at 5 o'clock to discuss episode 5. It should be a good one, so make sure you come back, join us as we are discussing that episode then. And we'll do some quick plugs before we wrap it up. Molly, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me at Molly Damon on Twitter, at Molly Mander on Instagram, and over on Star Wars Explained. We're going to be live streaming tomorrow and Thursday, talking Bad Batch. Building
2 big episodes tonight, right? It's double
2 episodes, yeah. It's like the 2-part mid-season.
Oh wait! Oh,
show.
There's 2 episodes.
Love it.
Ooh.
And Brian, where can everyone find you?
Be Evolving on Twitter and Instagram. Apocalypse Movies here in about an hour and 15, and my book Cult on Goodreads. Search my name. Alex is promoting it. Literally, read.
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 And Alex.
Molly took all the good ones. Star Wars Explained.
Fair
We're
enough.
streaming tomorrow to talk about the Bad Batch.
Fair enough. Myself, Qui-Gon Jake, 2 N's because someone else took it before I did. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Brian mentioned Apocalypse Movies. That's where we discuss all type of movie stuff. We're playing a trivia game tonight, which is a lot of fun. Check that out. And then our main show here on POV is live every Monday, 6 o'clock Pacific. Yesterday, we talked about the AMC ticket prices. That whole thing that was announced yesterday. And then, of course, here Tuesday evenings to talk The Last of Us. Check out the Patreon. Check out our social media for POV as well. Again, thank you to everyone who watches this live. We really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who sent in super chats. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you guys next week. Bye, guys.